Hello, this week's Sedra is Sedra Haazinu. The Torah portion of Haazinu is unique. It is written in poem form and is challenging to understand. The entire Sedra is an encouragement to the Jewish people to observe the mitzvos of the Torah. At the end of this week's Torah portion, Moshe issues a warning to the Jewish people about Torah study. The very last verses of the Torah portion read, when Moshe finished reciting all of these words to all the Jewish people, Moshe said to them, "Take to heart all the words with which I have warned you this day. Tell them to your children, that they may observe faithfully all the terms of this teaching. For this is not a trifling thing for you. It is your very life. Through it you shall long endure on the land that you are to possess upon crossing the Jordan." In his commentary on these last verses of this week's Torah portion, the Chizkuni wrote that if you don't study the Torah, you won't know which sins you violated, and you'll violate them and die. When it comes to mitzvos as well, if you don't study Torah, you won't know which mitzvos will merit you a reward, and you'll miss doing them. The Chizkuni seems to understand the Torah as a book that teaches the Torah and mitzvos. On the subject of the Torah, of the blessings on the Torah that we recite every morning, the Shulchan Aruch wrote that women recite the blessings on the Torah. This is a strange position for the Shulchan Aruch to take, for he held that women aren't obligated to study Torah, and contrary to the Ashkenazi practice, he maintained that women shouldn't recite blessings on mitzvos that they're not obligated to fulfill. In his commentary to this position of the Shulchan Aruch, and this curious position of the Shulchan Aruch, the Chavetz Chaim wrote in his work, the Bir Halacha, that the reason why he held that women make a blessing on Torah each morning is because, just as the Chizkuni wrote, they have to know the laws of the Torah, so therefore they have to study them. But that begs a question: is the only purpose of the Torah a utilitarian purpose, where we study lists of commands to know what to fulfill? In the Mishnah Torah, the Rambam wrote about the mitzvahs of loving and having awe of God. It is a mitzvah to love and have awe of the glorious and awesome God, he wrote. As it states, and you shall love God, your Lord, and as it states, have awe of God, your Lord. What is the path to attain love and awe of him? The Rambam asked. When a person contemplates God's wondrous and great deeds and creations and appreciates God's infinite wisdom that surpasses all comparison, he will immediately love, praise, and glorify God, yearning with tremendous desire to know God's great name. As King David stated, "My soul thirsts for the Lord, for the living God." When he continues to reflect on these same matters, he will immediately recall on awe and fear, appreciating how he is a tiny, lowly, and dark creature, standing with his flimsy, limited wisdom before he who is perfect of knowledge. As King David stated, "When I see your heavens, the work of your fingers, I wonder, what is man that you shall recall him?" The Rambam lets us in on another aspect of Torah study. Besides just a list of commands to follow, it is also a vehicle to understand, love, and gain awe of God. The Torah has many benefits, and is the greatest gift that man was given by God, greater than life itself, for the Torah gives life meaning. At the conclusion of this week's Torah portion, Moshe is warning the Jewish people to observe the Torah properly. Shabbat Shalom.